Now, so far when we've done selections, they have been temporary, which means if we wanted to reselect, we would not be able to. Okay? They're all temporary. I'm going to show you how to do a selection that will be permanent, that you can save with your file. And to do that, we need to be on the right layer in here. So I'm going to turn off the Gaussian blur, turn on the original, and select that layer. And then I'm going to go into channels. And I'm going to insert a new channel. And this is the one that I'm going to be putting my selection on. And to add a selection, you paint in white. Now, I do need to turn on either red, green, or blue so I can actually see the flower to paint. So you might want to take a look at what each one looks like. Whatever one you can see best, that's the one that you should have turned on. You're going to want to zoom in. And then I'm going to turn on the paintbrush, and I'm going to paint in white. And you'll notice when I do that, you can actually see that original flower come through. And as you're painting in white, if you look over in your layers, you will notice that the white is showing up. This is going to be a permanent selection. It will be saved with your file, and you can reuse it. This is kind of a nice feature because there are going to be times when you spend a lot of time selecting something, and it would be nice to be able to save it, especially if you ever had to reselect the same thing. Now you'll notice I'm not particularly neat when I'm selecting. I would go back around the edges and perfect it a little bit. So to remove, I'm switching over to black. And you'll see it just adds to the red rubella. Switch back over to white. Now, once you've got the selection, to get those marching ants, what you have to do is make sure your alpha layer is selected. Come down to the bottom of your channels panel and click on Load Channel as Selection. That is going to give you the marching ants. Now, before you go back to layers, you need to click up here on RGB, and then you need to turn off alpha. We're actually going to click right on RGB because we want the color selected. So we've got this selected. We're going to go back to layers. I'm going to go to Edit and Copy, Edit and Paste, turn off the original, and then you can see my new one. And I didn't do the greatest job selecting, but it would have taken too long. So if you had issues with your selecting, feel free to touch it up with the eraser. Okay, but the nice thing about using the channels is that you can reuse the selection. So let me go back. I'm going to turn this off. We'll turn this back on and select it. we go back into channels, it's still there. So if I turn it on and click on it, I can load the selection. Okay, then I can turn it off, click on RGB, and then go back to layers. And then I can do the copying. Now make sure that you rename layer 1, and we call it channel selected flower. Okay, and then save your changes.